recording this for anybody who misses it. And also, if any of your parents want to watch this, this is also, available to them. We're available for any questions that they may have. We will be sending an email. I see Ben and Grace's comments in there. We'll send a follow-up email after this with a bunch of links with this entire PowerPoint. The links will be accessible from that. So any questions before we get started? Anything you guys need to get off your chest like immediately? No? Feeling good? All right, great. Well, first of all, my name is Shelby. I've worked with lots of you. I have not worked with lots of you. I'm one of the Ed Abroad coordinators, and Megan is also here. Do you want to say hello?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces. I know I've met with quite a few of you over Zoom throughout the semester. As you guys know, for those of you who haven't met me, I'm Megan Ramirez. I'm one of the other education abroad coordinators here at WVU, and we're super excited to get you guys out on your programs and have you go visit other countries.
This is going to be so good. Don't forget about us too. Like, we'll be here just like so excited for you, and we want to hear all about it. We'll talk about that later. But I also want to.
All right, we can't wait to see your pictures and like social media posts. So please tag us in everything and email us if you can.
Yes. And with that, I want to introduce really quickly Sarah Wabnitz. Is currently, where are you, Sarah?
I am in Germany. Sweet little Bavaria town called Bamberg.
Yep. So Sarah is on a full year exchange. She's going to give some insight here at the very beginning. We won't keep her for this entire time, but you also did an Instagram takeover, right? And it's on our Instagram highlights. So if you guys want to know what it's like to be an exchange student, specifically to be Sarah in Bamberg, then you can check out our Instagram handle is WVU Abroad on there. But we also want to get to know you guys. We're going to do some breakout rooms, which is super fun. It's a Zoom thing, right? But we're going to break you out into rooms and write down these questions or take a picture or something, because I'm going to forget to like copy them into the chat. What you're going to be discussing, I'll give you like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, is what's your name and why is that your name? Where are you going and why are you going there? You guys aren't the first ones to travel mid-post-ish pandemic. It's been done, it's being done. So first of all, I mentioned here that we have like a Google Doc that we'll send out to you guys where you can willingly put your contact information if you want, so that you all can keep in touch or see like where other people are going or see if there are the same people going to where you're going. But also some of the students who are abroad right now have added their contact information. So if you want to reach out to someone and say like, hey, how did you navigate this? How did this work? We'll send you that document after this. But Sarah, lightning round, what prepared you most before departure?
One, this meeting was very helpful, but also I did work like up until the pandemic. And so I started to wear my mask because I worked at a place where I didn't have to. So I wore my mask trying to like protect myself and others, because during the pandemic, I was scared I was going to get it right before. And also my parents were just like very helpful. And when you're traveling to a different country and living there, it can be very stressful. Oh, also packing. I'll give a nice packing tip because
please do.
I packed a lot, but I'm here for a year, so I use all my stuff. I brought 3 suitcases. Don't do what I did. Don't do what I did, but I brought 3. Anyway, but I used storage bags, like the big, I got them from Target, but it's like vacuum sealed bags. Oh, they saved my life. And you wear your winter coats here all the time. No matter where you're going, you'll have winter coats. But yeah.
Check in on which hemisphere you're going to. That's one thing I'll say. Anyway, cool. What surprised you most so far about your time abroad?
There's so much to like choose from, but I think just like the everyday grocery shopping. My fridge is about the size of my computer because I have a shared kitchen, so I can't buy more than like 2 egg cartons at a time. Like it's so small. So that's a new atmosphere. Also, just like biking everywhere. That's really cool. I have my own bike here. Makes me feel very European. I don't know. Coming in the pandemic, it's definitely different. I wear a mask everywhere. They basically put a new lockdown on in the region of Germany that I'm in. So everything closes at 10 p.m. now. I don't know. Also in the libraries, which is a school thing. I don't know if it's in other countries too, but I have to put my backpack into a locker, and then I have to carry kind of like a little shopping cart, like a little, the word in English.
Like that has like the little wheels on it, right?
Not a shopping cart, but kind of just like a shopping, like it's small. Anyway, but you have to put your books in there. And then because they don't want you to steal books, you're not allowed to have your book bag in the library, which I thought was really strange. Yeah. So
that is interesting. Nice.
Yeah.
What's your favorite experience been so far? I know it will be difficult to narrow down.
My God. Honestly, just all the Erasmus students or international, study abroad students I've met here have been incredible. I can't even begin to explain how close I've gotten with all of them. But my favorite experience was going with one of my closest friends to Prague, Czech Republic. It's only 3 hours drive from here. So we took a bus and we went for 4 nights, and it was the best thing ever.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
Great. What are the classes like there?
Very different. Very different. You have to, first off, you have to register for your class, and then you have to register for your exam, like before the exam comes. And this is also at my friend's university in Italy. So if you go to Italy, you could have the same thing. But also the classes, you don't have them like 3 times a week or twice a week. All my classes are once a week for 2 hours. And also they have a thing called academic leniency. So a class on your schedule might say 2 to 4, but in reality, it starts at 2:15 and it ends at 3:45. So you have this window of time to travel in between classes. So yeah, I found that out early on.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. Any words of advice?
Yeah. You should do anything. You should do anything and everything. You might have an exam the next day or an early class. Always go out. Never miss an opportunity. I have $10 to my name now, but I will never not go out. I will never not spend time with my friends. So always just do the things that you're questioning on. Just always do it. Yeah.
Great advice. Nice. Q&A. Does anyone want to throw out a question for Sarah? Anything that you guys want to hear from a peer instead of from us?
I did have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So for going out or hanging out with friends and everything, especially as it's starting to get darker or whatever, just as a woman in a country where you're not from, what do you do for safety kind of stuff, even if
Oh, that's a good idea. Hold on, let me grab my keys really quick and I'll show you. Oh, okay. So
that's a great question, Emma.
This is a very good question. So right before I actually came, I went on Amazon, good old Amazon. I got this because you can take it through security. I used to have pepper spray on my keys, but obviously going on a plane, you can't bring that. Looks like this. It's called Birdie, and it's basically just a really loud alarm. But when you live in a city, it's really easy to hear anything. If you live in West Virginia, it's kind of a bit harder. So yeah, but I haven't had to use it, thank God. But yeah, that's what I use for safety.
Good call.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Anything else from the peanut gallery?
How have you seen things change since, I know COVID kind of was dying down, and now there's the new kind of wave. Have you seen a lot of effects from that in Germany?
Sadly, yes. So in the beginning or like the end of November, they were setting up for the Christmas markets, which is like the most famous thing in Germany. And then the new variant hit. And so they don't do that. The lockdown, it's supposed to end December 15th, but I think it's going to be longer. So I have no Christmas markets here. But that's really the only thing that has changed, and no clubs are open. There's only 2 in my city, so it's not a big deal, but and all the bars and restaurants close at 10, but that's the only real difference. I can still go out to eat. I just have to be, they call it 2G here. So you basically just have to be vaccinated. But that's the only big difference. It's very sad. You can still hang out with your friends, but you just, I don't know where you're going, but technically like it's getting a lot harder to travel now. And I really want you guys to be able to get here so you can, but COVID is still very real and very scary, to say the least.
We have multiple slides about COVID. We will talk about this. We want you guys to be prepared. Good question. Good question, Daisy. Anyone else? This is your chance. Also, we'll send you a Google Doc, but it's your chance to chat with the group.
I have a question. Regarding grading scale, how does it like translate to here in the States? Does it seem more relaxed, or is it more rigorous towards being more essay oriented? Because I know when I've met someone who's studying from England here in West Virginia University, and she says that she's on the pass-fail system pretty much, and she just needs to write essays, and it's nothing comparatively, even though I'm not going to England.
Yeah.
How the grade scale works.
A good question. It still kind of confuses me to this day, but like for most of my political science classes, I have to do an essay and a presentation, and that's how I get the full credits, but I still have to like pass them. And the grading scale is like 1 to 5. So 1 is an A, and a 5 is an F. So, but I'll basically get an A, B, C at West Virginia University. I don't have a pass-fail option.
That's correct. We'll talk about that too. Pass-fail is not an option for WVU students. You will be earning grades for everything that you take abroad. Mm-hmm. And we also have like approximate grade scales available for like most countries. You guys are all going places where our students have gone before, or like countries or regions or, you know, continents. So if you have concerns, most of that is like public on the program brochure where we initially walked through like everything, right? And there should be information about like how the credits like translate as far as like quantity, you know, how many credits there equals how many credits here, and also what the grade scale kind of looks like. If you ever want to talk through that, Megan and I are available. Anything else from you guys? Feeling good? All right. Well, Sarah, we greatly appreciate your willingness to be here and chat with the next generation. Again, she took over our Insta, so check it out. And it's on our like highlight reels or something. I don't know how this works, but yeah, take a look. And also we'll send you out that Google Doc that includes a bunch of people's contact information. So chat with each other. All right. You are not obligated to stay, Sarah, but if you really want to listen to all of this again, then feel free.
I think I'm good, but thank you.
All right. Sure. Well, take care.
Thanks for listening, everyone. All right. Be safe. Travel safe.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Cool. Nice. Well, that leads directly into great question, Ben, about studying abroad. You guys are studying abroad. You are students. Take advantage of every opportunity, exactly like Sarah said. But remember that you are earning credits and grades for everything that you take. And it's best to like nail down what the grade system looks like, you know, what services are available to you as far as like tutoring or things early on. Like talk to the universities where you're going and get a feel for what's available. Just like WVU has tutoring centers here, we have student success centers here. I've been to, you know, lots of places and other universities where they offer services that are really useful for students who are just adjusting to something new, right? It's just a new system that you're going into. You all should be registered for your placeholder course or the appropriate courses at this point, and check your bill, make sure that it's all correct. Maintain a full-time course load on campus for right now. Okay, so for spring 2022, at least for WVU students, I recommend that you have like at least 12 credits registered on campus just in case. As you have probably gathered from the last couple years or so, it is so hard to predict what's going to happen even within a few weeks. So we just want you guys to have a backup plan, which I think we've been saying this whole time. And then, you know, during ad drop period, you can just drop those classes. You will not be billed double tuition, I promise. Keep your syllabi and your coursework from abroad. This is just good, you know, to verify, you know, what exactly that course consisted of, especially for like your academic advisor, or if anybody needs to like give you prerequisite access to something that you due to what you've taken abroad. Make sure that you're keeping track of that coursework. Make scans or take pictures, right? You don't have to like bring binders back with you like I did as a loser when I studied abroad. Keep on checking your mix email. We'll be sending emails out. I know you love hearing from us. We will keep on emailing you while you're gone. But also like send us pictures. We want to know how awesome it is. And yeah, we'll get into some of the other things that we'll send to you. One thing that we will send to you is this registration confirmation form. We'll send this to you mid-semester. And this is where you will put down the classes that you are actively registered for. Just confirming with basically my counterpart, mine and Megan's counterpart there. They'll just sign off on it, stamp it if they want, and confirm that you're at least full-time, right? If you're an undergrad, that means that you must be in the equivalent of 12 WVU credits. The equivalent, right? Because every country measures credits differently. So if you're going to a country like Germany, where they use ECTS, then you would be taking at least 24 ECTS credits, right? Because it's a 2-to-1 ratio. If everything that I'm saying right now makes no sense to you, like come and talk to me. We can chat about the credit scale. But you must maintain full-time credit load in country while you're there. Okay. We're going to dig into the credit transfer process. This is grueling. It's just dry. Let me know. Please stop me if anything is confusing. And also as a caveat, this is for WVU students. I know that we have some visiting students going to Strasbourg, so you'll need to consult with your own coordinators to make sure you know how your transfer process works. First component of credit transfer is like what that class equals at WVU, that course equivalency. Most of you have probably been using this transfer equivalency review request system, or TER, as we lovingly call it. And that's where you can upload a syllabus from a different university, have it evaluated for equivalency at WVU. So if you're trying to get like a B Corps 360 class or a Psych 293 or something that's equivalent, then you can put that syllabus through the system. It gets channeled out to a faculty member here, who would then evaluate it and say this is equivalent to XYZ class, or they might say it's not equivalent to anything, which might be the case if you're taking like a really unique class that's just not offered at WVU. Totally take those classes. If you don't put a course through TER, then it'll appear on your transcripts as no EQ 100, which is fine. That's just the course code and the course number that goes along with it. And then you'll have the course title. So this is semi-optional. Really what it affects is that course code and that course number on your transcripts at the end of everything. That make sense?
For the listing of like of the courses on like the One Sunday Abroad thing, I had like the courses and it said the ECTS of like the course there, and then I had like the US or WVU equivalent.
Yeah,
it wasn't 2-to-1. Is that
so
not accurate?
So you're going to Tor Vergata, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So sorry, Tor Vergata students. This is a bit confusing, but we have like a special relationship with Tor Vergata where we have like the Statler College has come to an agreement with the College of Engineering at Tor Vergata, and those equivalencies in the table are correct. It's not 2-to-1, but it's correct. Okay, I know that's kind of a wrench.
Yeah, that's good.
There's exceptions to everything.
Oh my gosh, I'm not taking enough credits.
Nope, it's okay. It's okay. All right. Step 2 is your transient form. Some of you who might be working with financial aid have probably already gotten requests for this form. But essentially, whereas, the previous step was this course, any student, takes this course abroad, it'll equal this thing at WVU. This transient form is for your specific personal permission to receive credit for the classes that you're taking, okay, through your department. Just as a quick sneak peek, there are 2 pages to it. Read the instructions, initial it, make sure you understand what's happening on this page. But essentially on the second page, you'll just fill in your student info, where you're going and when you're going. And then you're going to put in the course names, titles, codes, all pertinent information that as it would be issued from that international university, if that makes sense. So don't put the WVU equivalent, put the course as it appears in the course catalog at that host institution. Okay, it won't look the same as ours. Number of credits there, number of credits here. And then you'll turn it into your academic advisor. You can send it to us, but I can't do anything with it. Send it to your academic advisor. They will upload it, which certifies it online. From there, it will go to your academic dean, and they'll approve it, make sure everything fits. And that's the documentation that needs to be on record in order for you to actually obtain credit for each class that you've taken abroad. Okay. If you turn in this transient form and then your schedule changes, you add a class, that's totally fine. Fill out a new transient form with the class that you've added, and then your advisor can certify it and they can go all through it. Essentially, it's just creating a list of courses that you are approved to receive credits and grades for from abroad. Does that make sense? Feeling good? Don't be scared by all these forms. I promise they're really not as scary as they look. I really recommend generally filling this out once you've actually registered for classes, just because there's room for change. Things might happen between now and then, which is totally fine. But if, like I said, if you need to make changes, that's fine. Submit a new form. Step 3. Last step, I promise. We need your international transcripts from wherever you're studying. This will happen at the end of the semester, so you won't get them immediately. And that also means that your credits won't come in immediately. But your transcripts from your host university should come directly to WVU. So that means that your coordinator or the registrar or whoever over there needs to send them directly to us or directly to international admissions. We take physical copies, but also digital copies. So if they send it through an email, they have them email us. If you have taken a course that appears on your transcript and it's not on your transient form, then it'll appear on your student record as no EQ 1NT transient approval needed, which just means you need to fill out a transient form for that course. Okay, so transcripts need to be sent directly to us from your host institution. And it does take a minute, right? You guys all have different academic calendars. Your stuff is coming from all different places. So there is going to be a delay between the time that your program ends and the time that your credits and your grades appear on your record. Make sure that your advisors know. Make sure that the Mountaineer Hub knows if you're expecting scholarships or financial aid, and you need to have certain credits on your record in order to move forward. Just make sure that you're checking in with all of your people to make sure that you're taken care of. There is going to be a delay, but if you have questions, you can let us know. But you should also reach out to your host university to make sure you know what their process is for issuing transcripts. Okay? You all feel good? Ish? Okay. In the chat, true or false? Classes can be taken, oof, I can read. Classes taken abroad are pass-fail. False. Yay. Okay. True or false? I should submit a new transient form if I add a new class. True. Excellent. I can assume that my program abroad will automatically send WV my transcripts. False. Just ask people. It's like a 2-second thing. WV accepts digital copies of transcripts. True. Excellent. Good job, everyone. I'm so proud. All right. Megan, want to take this?
Yeah, I can take over from here. Alrighty, so you guys are making a pretty big trip, and there are some important documents and elements that you're going to be taking with you. First and foremost, your passport. To leave the country and enter another, you're going to need a passport. So most of you should already have that, hopefully. And you'll just want to check and make sure that your passport has at least 6 months after you plan to return. And you can check on the Department of State's website to kind of check updates on passport information if you're still waiting for yours to arrive. Visas, there are quite a few countries that require a visa to enter. I know quite a few of you are going to France. For those of you going to Taiwan, you'll also need a visa. So you should be working with your host university on that. And if you have any questions or if you're not quite sure, you can reach out to us, or you can check the embassy website for the country you're going to. So if you're headed to France, you can check the Embassy of France in the US, their website, and see if you need a visa. Alrighty, and then if you are not a US citizen and you are traveling on one of our programs, we'd recommend that you talk to International Student and Scholar Services here at WVU to determine if there are any specific visa requirements that you would need, or if there's anything else that needs to be planned for you to return to WVU. All right, and then, like I said, these are really important documents, so we do recommend carrying the original with you, but also have copies of these. I usually recommend having like a photocopy, like a paper backup copy, and then also save copies to your phone. So you can email them to yourself, you can save them in Google Drive, however it's easiest for you to access them, just in case like you end up needing additional proof, or if your passport gets damaged or you end up losing the page that has the visa on it for some reason, you have a picture and you have all that important information accessible to you at any time. Yeah, thanks, Shelby. It's just the heater. Okay, so airports, all of you are going to be flying to your destinations, and that's super exciting. So for international flights, you can check in online 24 hours in advance. We also recommend arriving to the airport at least 3 hours in advance. With new like COVID policies, and especially if you're traveling around the holiday time, you might want to arrive a bit earlier than that, just because there could be a lot of lines, and like the security portion of it could be pretty backed up if everyone's traveling back and forth for the holidays. Also, you'll want to check your airline and the airport. You'll want to check their masking policy and their testing requirements. And you'll also want to check the testing requirements for the place that you are going to. Since we would absolutely hate for you to end up delaying your flight or missing your flight because you didn't have the proper like COVID test beforehand. Great, so packing. Sarah already gave us some wonderful tips on packing. Just to reiterate what she said, pack light, try to pack under the weight limit and minimize the number of bags that you're taking. So usually you're allowed a carry-on bag and a checked bag, and you'll just want to kind of divide and conquer and plan out which items you want to put into each. So with your carry-on bag, you're going to want to make sure that you can actually carry it, that you can take that through the airport with you, that you'll be able to lift it and put it into the overhead bin, and that it meets the airline's requirements. So airlines only allow usually medium or small sized bags into the overhead bins. So you want to check that so you don't get any extra charges once you get to the airport. Also in your carry-on bag, we recommend taking like essential items. So usually we recommend taking at least a change of clothes, just in case you end up, your checked bag ends up getting lost. I recommend taking, I recommend taking a universal converter, just in case you have a layover in a different country's airport, you want to make sure that you're able to charge your phone and be able to contact your family and things like that. Also, since we're kind of traveling between seasons, you're going to want to check the weather at your destination or wherever you're going and see if maybe you should bring your winter jacket or what kind of weather appropriate clothing you should take. Also, with any of the bags that you're taking, I do recommend leaving quite a bit of space for souvenirs, since like you're going to find a lot of really cool stuff. And I know I personally tend to go a little overboard on shopping when I'm in other countries. I just like to get people gifts. So if you know that's you, plan for that ahead of time. Leave some space in your bag or fill that space with items that you're going to use while you're in country. So if you know you're going to go through 2 things of deodorant, 2 things of toothpaste, you can pack that on your way there to guarantee that you have that empty space on the way back. And you can fill that space with souvenirs. You can also pack like folding bags if you know you're going to need extra space that you can put into your checked bag and then just use on the way back. Alrighty. And then, like I said, go ahead. Someone was going to say something.
Nope, that was just me. Please continue.
Oh. Alrighty. So yeah, I kind of already went over what you should bring in your carry-on bag a little bit. A change of clothes, the size of liquids and gels that you can take in your carry-on bag, I believe is 3.4 ounces. You're going to want to double check that online, but just make sure that you're bringing like the appropriate sized elements. You're following all of the security procedures. Also, if you have important documents like your housing letter, if you're going to France or something like that, or visa information, make sure you have that on you. That's not something to put into your checked bag. You're going to want that in your carry-on or like a fanny pack or purse if you're taking that too. Yeah, and we've linked the TSA website there. That's a great spot to start kind of figuring out what kind of security procedures or things you should plan for going in. Also, if you have medication or anything you might need during your like flight or transit process, have that in your carry-on. Like keep that with you. If you're not comfortable being separated from it for a week or longer, you should put it in your carry-on with you.
Does anyone else have packing tips? I know some of you have traveled before.
Don't do what Sarah did and bring 3 suitcases.
What did you say?
Do what Sarah did and bring 3 suitcases.
Don't bring 3 suitcases. So what I did when I studied abroad in Chile, I had a suitcase, but I put like a little like duffel that doesn't take much space in the bottom of it, so that if I needed extra space at the end of the semester, I could pop that out and use it. I did not use it, just for the record. Yeah.
I did a similar thing and I did use it.
So know yourself is really the lesson here.
Right. I also, let's see, for packing, I usually recommend 1 checked bag and then 1 carry-on. And for the checked bag, I recommend that it's a pretty sturdy bag with the wheels on it, like 4 wheels on the bottom, and they can spin 360, so you can do like a full rotation with it. Those are awesome.
Assume that you will be the only one managing all of your bags.
Yeah.
Just take that for granted.
Yeah, have that wheeled suitcase. And then for the checked bag, I usually like to take a backpack of some kind. That way I always have at least 1 hand free. If I'm going through the airport or when I'm moving from the airport to like the university or to a taxi or something like that.
My last word of advice is bring a toothbrush in your checked bag. Like you're just gonna want it. And like a little thing of face wash is sometimes helpful too. You just want to like go to the bathroom and like clean off the airport from yourself between flights. I see Grace said if you have prescription medication, it helps if you go through TSA, if you have a bottle with your name on it. Yes, we'll absolutely talk more about prescriptions in a little bit. But please do not just like dump pills into a plastic bag and bring them. Make sure that your prescription medication is in the prescription bottle. And if possible, have like documentation of your prescription from your doctor as well. Also, hard shell suitcases are safer if you plan on getting fragile souvenirs too. Absolutely. I just wrap things in like t-shirts. That's what I tend to do.
Yeah, I also would wrap fragile things in t-shirts, and I've brought home like porcelain teapots and like little statues and stuff, and they've made it home. Yeah, so you just have to be pretty careful and just accept that there is the chance that it could have a little bit of a break in it. But yeah, if you pack, especially with a hard side suitcase, a lot of things do make it through pretty well. I also find that little trinkets, like little breakable things, if you pack those into like your spare shoes keep them pretty safe.
The other thing with hard shell suitcases, I do not have a hard shell suitcase like a pro. And it rains in some places of the world. And so your stuff will get wet. And I've brought like books back and stuff, and they've just been like destroyed by rain if they get caught outside. So that could be a benefit to hard shell suitcases. Okay. All right. We'll keep going because we have more ground to cover. Go ahead, Megan.
Pretty money. It's money. It's very important. So no matter where you go, you're going to be using some kind of currency. So we recommend that you notify your bank before you leave. So a lot of times you can just call your bank up and let them know. You can walk in, or places like Chase, they have on the app, you can just scroll through and select the countries you're going to, put the dates in that the expected dates that you'll be there. And that will let them know that if they see like a €5 charge in France, that's actually you and someone didn't steal like your card to go purchase some croissants or something. So that's really important to notify your bank. Let's see. And then we recommend having multiple sources of money while you're going. So bring a debit card if you have it, credit cards, check online to see if they're accepted internationally. Most of them should be, but it's always good to check. So debit card, credit card, and then also I do recommend bringing some US dollars with you that you can exchange in the airport or just have as a backup, just in case like the first night that you're there, your debit card isn't working or you can't find an ATM to go to. When you're bringing US dollars abroad, I recommend that you get new bills and that they are undamaged and pretty much in perfect condition, since like if you're going to an exchange counter for them, they might be very critical of the bills if they're like crinkled or if they have some rips or if they just aren't new within like a few years. So I do recommend getting new undamaged bills. And then, like I said, you can exchange US dollars for local currency, and you can do that at the airport. You can do that at money exchanges that might be like freestanding or your own businesses. With debit cards, you can go to ATMs and withdraw local currency. So it's not going to be US dollars that comes out because your bank account is in US dollars. It's going to be euros or pounds or whatever the local currency is. With ATMs and debit cards and credit cards, your bank might have international transaction fees or they might have a surcharge. So it's always good to check that beforehand to see if it's better to withdraw like a larger amount at once that you might need for maybe a month or so, or if the fees are so minimal or there aren't any to the point where it's just easiest for you to kind of use it as you go. You can also pre-order local currency from some banks. So if that's something you're comfortable doing, you can always do that. Also, for ATMs, we recommend that you use ones that are inside or attached to an actual bank. This way, if the ATM decides to take your debit card for any reason, it's not lost forever. You can walk in and ask the bank teller to open up the ATM and return your card to you. Since I've heard some stories from like friends who have traveled who have gotten their debit cards taken by the ATMs in the airport, and they ended up having to like delay their flights or reschedule their flight because someone wasn't able to get there in time to return the debit card to them. So if you can, always use the ATM that is attached to a bank.
Just a couple other notes. Check in wherever you're going, like culturally, what if they use cash or cards. I know a lot of places in Europe prefer cash, and using credit cards at restaurants and stuff just is not very common. Also, I am from Indiana, and my bank is in Indiana, and it's a very small Indiana bank. And so when I went to South America, none of the ATMs worked with my debit card. Bank people are very nice, usually. So you can always like walk into a bank and say, hey, this ATM isn't working. And they had one of those like slidey machines, and I was able to withdraw cash if I went to my bank man and said, I'm sorry, I'm poor again. So like, make sure that you can talk to people there as well, like at banks and stuff. And if you do pull out large amounts of cash at a time, we'll talk about this a little bit later too, but like put them in different places. Don't put a wad of like $200-300 in one pocket. Try to like spread it out among pockets and in your, backpack or purse or whatever you have. Okay.
Those are really great points, Shelby.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and also if you're going to a place where it's mostly cash, or they'll be using a lot of coins, I recommend a coin pouch. I found those really useful because like wallets here in the US don't have a really big capacity for coins, which tend to be used a lot. So coin pouch.
If you're going to Europe.
Yeah, Europe, Morocco was also very coin-based. Yeah, those could also be a really great souvenir if you just want to buy one in country. Alrighty, so continuing on, communication is really important. You are going on pretty fantastic journey, and you have a lot of people here who are really interested in what you're doing, like your family, I'm sure is going to be very interested in hearing from you. So it's really important to stay in touch, and the best way to do this is probably with your cell phone. So you can check with your home service provider to see if they offer international coverage with the plan you already have, or if it's worth it for you to purchase an international option. Once you get to your destination, so if you're going to Taiwan, once you're in the airport, you can purchase SIM cards or a local cell service that could work with your phone. So those are some options if you wanted to continue texting and being able to make phone calls. On the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about how you can, if you don't want to do this option, how you can use like apps that only use Wi-Fi, like so that you can text and FaceTime your family. Righty. But power, how are you going to power your phone and all your other items? So other countries, their outlets in the wall, they are different shapes and they're different currents. So you will need an outlet converter, and you could either search the specific converter for the country you're going to, or what I really recommend is just getting a universal or international converter that can plug into any kind of outlet. And like I said, I do recommend having that in your carry-on bag so it's always accessible to you. Okay, or that's the adapter, sorry. I use the terms interchangeably. Okay, so there's the adapter that can fit into any outlet, and then the converter changes like the amount of electricity that you're pulling. Great. So like I said, if you want to use Wi-Fi based apps, things like Facebook, or they're going by Meta now, Instagram, anything else that has like a messaging component to it, or like a FaceTiming component to it, you can use those to talk to your family back home, or once you get to your destination. A lot of people use WhatsApp. So that's attached to your phone number. So if you're going to use WhatsApp, I recommend setting that up before you leave. So you can receive the confirmation text. But WhatsApp, you can text, you can FaceTime, and a lot of people abroad use that. You can also use GroupMe or anything else that's over Wi-Fi. Okay, so those are communication technologies. If you want to use a map, I recommend downloading Maps.me, and that works without Wi-Fi and without a connection. So Maps.me just uses the GPS on your phone, which works no matter where you are. It's not dependent on your cell service or Wi-Fi. So Maps.me should work whether you have a connection or not. And for that, you would download like the location that you're in, and you're able to, pretty similar to Google Maps, just search up streets, find destinations, and pin different locations. Also, some of your flights are 7 hours, some of them might be 17 hours in transit. So I do recommend bringing some offline entertainment. So this can be ebooks, having music downloaded on your phone so that you can access it while you're in the air, puzzles, or any other kind of game. There are also a few other things that you might find useful while you're abroad, like Uber. Netflix is always a great option. So whatever you find entertaining here, recommend keeping that on your phone while you go abroad. Okay, so time for a review. What are 2 documents you should bring with you? And you can throw these in the chat. Passport and visa. Yep. Awesome. Passport and visa, vaccination card. Yep, that's a necessity. Prescriptions. Yeah. Copy of credit card. Absolutely. All right. Fantastic. All righty. And now, what are 2 options for exchanging money? ATM. Awesome, Max. What is one more option? Does anybody remember? Airport people. Yep. Bank back home. Yep. Airport at the bank. Yeah. So you can use an ATM. You can request currency from your bank, so you have it when you go. You can bring US dollars and exchange those at the airport. And some places you can just use your debit or credit card.
All of your WVU Abroad applications, most of you have signed it. I know that there are a few stragglers. I just went through today and reopened applications. If you have not signed this, please log into your WVU Abroad application. It's just like an electronic signature. But in essence, this policy is essentially semester program students should follow the local guidelines. Okay, so wherever you're going, whatever the airline you're taking, whatever the country regulations are, whatever your university regulations are, you are expected to follow those. You should be fully vaccinated by a vaccine approved by the governing authority of that country, right? So if you got a vaccine here in the States, make sure that they recognize and have accepted and approved of that vaccine in country. If you need exceptions for medical reasons, then you can go to the Office of Accessibility Services at WVU. And accommodations may be limited by local and vendor requirements. So if you need help, like we're here to help, Accessibility Services is here to help. Talk to, your host university. You should be like open and have a feel for what you're getting into over there as well. Okay. And this, we are covering all of you with ISOS travel and health insurance. So make sure that you take down this member ID number and their phone number. We'll also send this in an email. I don't know how many of you read my emails, but so this is a emergency services provider, basically. Their website is fantastic. They will have an additional tab with COVID regulations starting in January. So you can go on there and see, what health and safety tips they have, recommended immunizations, but also COVID regulations in that country or in that region. If you have any medical concerns, or if you just want to get a head start, you can always give them a call and just open a case before you go and say, hey, I'm going to Italy next semester. These are the dates I'll be gone. What should I expect in this area? And if you have prescriptions or anything, they're great people to talk to. And so they should, give you information about what prescriptions are available in that country. If there's anything that's restricted, I know that there are some countries where Adderall is a restricted substance and you have to be careful about, what you take with you. So call ISOS. They're very friendly people. Your coverage covers you anywhere outside of the US. So if you are in the airport in Hawaii, that's not outside the US. So once you are actually international, they'll cover you. And some of you might be required to purchase additional coverage in your host country. Talk to us, me or Megan, if you have any questions. Talk to, the folks at your university, if you have questions about this. Again, I will send you this information, but really what you need is that membership ID number and like a phone number. They also have an app. Download their app and it'll change to your location, and it'll have like a local number for you. And it'll also you can sign up for alerts on there. And it's just handy to have like a quick reference. Continuing on with COVID, follow the CDC guidelines or the World Health Organization guidelines at all times. You are going to be around a lot of other travelers, right? So that's a risk to you. That's also a risk to the other travelers, right? You're around a lot of other people. So be responsible, be respectful of the other travelers. You are responsible for knowing the regulations, guidelines, and policies pertaining to your program. So I just told you the WVU policy. You need to check in with your host university. You need to check in with your airline and your host country and make sure that you know what's expected of you right now. Get the vaccine. It's not as widely available in a lot of other countries. And we even had exchange students come here this semester who asked if they could get it once they arrived, and they could. So it just might not be as much of an option while you're abroad, and it's just better to be preemptive anyway. And check in with boosters like Ben mentioned. But these are some areas where you need to keep an eye on, what might be required of you. In the airport, you might need to use like masks and sanitizer. You may need to provide like a negative test that was taken within a certain time frame. You may need proof of vaccination. You might need to quarantine in certain countries once you arrive. And again, timeframes, make sure you know how many days that test has to be within 72 hours or 24 hours. Or if you have to have had vaccination, proof of vaccination within 2 weeks of your travel, make sure you check in on those timeframes. As far as country guidelines and local legislation, just like I think Sarah had like really great information on that, where, a lot of times things might change as you have all experienced lately. There might be curfews, there might be mask mandates. It might limit business operations, right? Things might close early. There might be penalties for not complying, and you are bound by the laws of the places that you're staying. And also some countries have like apps or like monitoring platforms where you can like log your vaccination status, and they use that to like get into buildings or like prove your vaccination status. So check in on your country and where you're going. I would say ISOS would be a great resource for that. Just check in with them and see, what to expect wherever you're going. And then you are all students, right? So you will be staying somewhere, a university will be hosting you. They might have their own regulations on, gatherings and what you're allowed to do. They might have on-site clinics and testing. They might not. They might have contact tracing policies and, COVID exposure procedures. So make sure that you are aware of what is expected of you there and what your resources are in case of all instances, right? We and also your hosts have the right to cancel your travel at any time if the situation becomes unsafe beyond reason, right? And this is for you guys. And we are so excited that you're all traveling. And we want you to have an amazing experience. And only under, extreme circumstances do we cancel semester programs like this. And one thing that I think I'll cover in a different slide is like travel advisories. I'm sure a lot of you have heard plenty about the travel advisories through the U.S. Department of State, but we will be in touch with you if there are travel advisories that like change or increase or decrease. Like we have resources for you. A couple other health concerns, make sure that you bring your health insurance member ID number, right? Medications in their original bottles, enough for your entire stay, or work with ISOS to make sure you know how to get more if needed. Copies of your prescriptions, personal travel health kit. It's just nice to have a Band-Aid when you need a Band-Aid. if you have a disability or if you need any kind of accommodations, make sure that you work with accessibility services. You can work with us to see what services are available at your host institution, and familiarize yourself with, like I mentioned before, with like tutoring and academic stuff. Familiarize yourself with like counseling and mental health services available on your host campus. Those are services that are available at like all of our partners, and just make sure that you know where that is if you need. As far as immunizations, check on the CDC.
Sorry to cut you off, Shelby. I just wanted to add for the last slide, if you are traveling with medication or anything, any kind of medicine that's prescription, I would recommend checking with ISOS to see if it is legal in the country you're going to first off. Since some medications might not be like approved in other countries, or they might not be accessible. So you're gonna wanna check that beforehand so you don't run into like a situation as soon as you're going through customs once you arrive at your destination.
That, and some of our some of our like readily accessible medications here are over the counter. And am I using that term correctly? I don't think I am. A lot of like our standard like ibuprofen or whatever you can buy off the shelf might be more of a controlled substance wherever you're going. That's what I'm trying to say. Google CDC and the country where you're going to. Just Google CDC and the country that you're going to, and you'll get information on recommended and required vaccines for that country. The Student Health Center has a travel health clinic. So you can always go over there or schedule an appointment if you have, if you want to talk to somebody about your specific health situation and where you're going specifically and what you should consider preparing for. Check in, on COVID vaccines. You can use the return to campus resources to find a vaccine appointment. There's plenty happening all over the place. You can get boosters now. I signed up at CVS and got it like the next day. Megan, do you want to do travel advisories?
Yeah, I'll take travel advisories. Alrighty, so I know just about every single one of you I've talked to, I've mentioned the Department of State's travel advisories. I think now more than ever, it's kind of top of the list of things we're talking about. So just as a general overview, the Department of State reviews other countries and like US citizens who travel to other countries. And based on the situation in that country, like the health situation, like local crime and things like that, they'll give the country a advisory level. And they have 4 levels. Level 1 is like very safe, everything's normal. And level 4 is they're recommending that you do not travel to this location. So WVU has approved travel to level 4 and lower locations. If the country goes up to level 3 and lower, if the country goes up to level 4 or is a level 4, you can submit a travel petition, and we've linked that right there. Also, if it goes up to level 4, we'll email you this information. You can fill out that travel petition, and it will be reviewed by risk management and the Director of Education Abroad, and they'll get back to you with whether or not your program is tentatively approved, or if they're going to cancel it at that time. So of course, check the destination, the location that you're going to. So if you're studying in Germany, check Germany. But if while you're flying there, you have a layover in the UK, check the UK's travel advisory as well, just to kind of know everything before going in. Also on the Department of State's website, they have a ton of resources. So wherever you're going, we recommend that you find the nearest embassy, get their phone number, their emergency phone number, save that on your phone or whatever device you're using. You can also write it down on a piece of paper, keep it in your wallet so you always have it. Also save the physical address of that location, because if you run into any problems or if you need assistance, the US Embassy can offer a lot of services to American citizens. Okay. And also our office, if the location goes up to level 4, updates will be sent from our office by International Risk Manager. And if you receive one of these emails, please respond to it. Please let us know how things are going in country, what your thoughts are, what things are looking like on the ground. And like if we do send you the travel petition, please fill that out. Please get back to us with any questions that you have, because it's really important for us to make sure that you're still safe while you're abroad.
And the international risk manager's name is Tara. So if you get an email from Tara, usually that's like her making sure you guys are okay. So reply to Tara's emails and just say, okay, thank you. I understand and I'm fine. Or I need a lot of assistance. Like she is an amazing, person for this job and she'll take care of you. But just reply to Tara's emails. She's lovely.
Yeah. Okay. So like I said, the Department of State has a ton of resources for citizens traveling abroad. One of those resources is STEP. So if you follow the link here, or if you go onto their website and search STEP, it'll pull up this service that they have where you can put in your name, your contact information, like an email address, and the country you're going to and what days you'll be there. And then the Department of State will send you email updates about things that are happening in the country. If COVID procedures change, they'll send you updates. If there's any special services or assistance being offered by the local embassy or consulate at that time, you'll also receive updates about that. Okay, so safety concerns. Some of you already got to this a little bit with the questions you were asking to Sarah, but self-awareness. The way I would recommend kind of traveling very similar to the way you would treat kind of going into Morgantown to High Street for like Friday night or something like that. Like know where you're going, kind of look into things beforehand, be self-aware. If you're bringing money or valuables with you, make sure they're not like irreplaceable, super expensive and flashy. If you're taking like a purse or a backpack or anything with you that has money or your passport or anything important that you're not willing to lose, keep that in front of you. Make sure you know where it is and just keep your wits about you. So don't have your headphones on if you're in a very busy location or something like that. Just kind of always be aware of your surroundings. Sarah also mentioned that once she got to Bamberg, she met a ton of really great people and became friends with them. That's awesome. So once you start making these friends and you're comfortable with them and you know they're people you can trust, we definitely recommend traveling with that group of people that you know. So that's one way to go. And also trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, if someone's kind of giving you bad vibes, don't go with them. Trust yourself and make the choice that will be good for you. Also, like I said, kind of treat it like you're going into Morgantown into High Street on Friday night. Drinking ages might be different. If you're going to participate in drinking, please do so responsibly. Same thing with sex. If you're going to engage in it, please be responsible. We always want you to be safe. Like enjoy your time abroad, have a fantastic experience, but make sure you're being safe about everything. Alrighty. All right. Oh, were you taking? Okay.
I can if you want. As far as cultural awareness, read up. Like look for blogs, look for YouTube videos, and like everybody's documenting what they're up to right now. Learn what's appropriate and not appropriate. You might be used to a certain way of expressing yourself or just moving throughout society. And that's fine, that's great. But just know what that means where you're going. Attire, your behaviors, topics of conversation, gestures that you use might mean something different where you're going. The good news is ISOS has really helpful cultural tips, as well as, health and safety and COVID stuff. So visit their website and just like explore and get lost, see what they have. Be careful about protests and rallies. We really want you to be safe, and also be respectful. If it's not an issue that you have like personal ties to, then it's not something for tourists. Be respectful of differing cultural, political, and religious views. Be open to listening to new perspectives. And this kind of goes without saying, right? Always be respectful, even when people aren't respectful to you. You'll be asked some things and probably not in the most sensitive way. Americans are very subtle people in a lot of ways. We'll mask what we're actually trying to say about people, whereas in a lot of other countries, they're very frank and straightforward. I know one of our faculty leaders studied in England for a semester, and as soon as someone heard her accent, they walked up and asked if she owned a gun. When I went to Australia a few years ago, I was asked how I felt about the current president. And so like you might be asked things point blank, and you're allowed to express your views, and you're allowed to have an opinion, and you're also allowed to say, actually, I haven't really read up on that, and I don't really know. I don't have a good definitive answer for you. But more than anything, remember that you're a representative. You are representing, West Virginia University or wherever else, your home university. You're also representing West Virginia as a state. I'm sure all of us are aware of some of the preconceptions that people have about West Virginia. And like, we know the nuances of that, and we know how significant it is to live here. And you're representing that. You're also representing the United States. We are a hot topic at the moment, and you might be asked some things, and you're representing us. So just bear that in mind, even if you don't want that burden necessarily. It's not saying that you have to have it all figured out all the time, but just be aware that you're that one American friend that your peers are going to run across. Okay, super quick. In the chat, where can you find more information about local COVID-19 guidelines and regulations? ISOS, excellent. Anywhere else? CDC, very good. Embassy, muy bien. Who should you contact if you have a medical need? ISOS, very good. Also, like the local emergency line, right? If you have a medical emergency, learn the equivalent of 911 wherever you're going. You can go to the hospital first and then talk to ISOS later, and they'll reimburse you. Where should you go to log your travel? STEP. Anywhere else? You can log your travel in your WVU Abroad application also. So if you're taking a weekend trip to Prague, like Sarah did, then you can put that in your WVU Abroad. Good call, Maddie. You can put that in your WVU Abroad itinerary. You can add to your itinerary at any time. And really that just sends your location to our international risk manager. So if she learns that something is going down in Prague and she sees that you're there that day, then she'll send you a notice and just say, hey, just so you're aware, there are protests happening today. That's usually what it is. There's usually protests.
Yeah, and really great point, Maddie, to text or email your family and friends, like if you're going to another country, if you're going to another city. I would normally message my friends and my dad. I usually stayed in hostels, like the hostel name, the location, the days I'd be there. And if I was going to like multiple places, I just kind of tell them what days and where I'd be. Just because they found it comforting, and also if anything did happen, they knew where I was supposed to be.
Good call. Nice. We have some okay conversation, feeling good about things. Does anyone want to share where they're from and what's important or unique about where you're from?
I mean, I'm always willing to talk about the great state that is Kansas.
Please do.
Yeah, it's center of the country. We've got wheat, we have cattle, we have bison. That's pretty cool. I live on the eastern edge, like 5 minutes away from the border with Missouri. So we're basically, it's the greater Kansas City metro. We have barbecue, we have jazz. There's not a lot else. It's flat, we're landlocked. Yeah. That's Kansas.
As a person from Indiana, I vibe with that. That's great.
Yeah. Right? I'm from Illinois, so you had me at corn.
Dude, it's the Midwest, you know? It doesn't get better than this.
It's its own identity.
It really is.
So bringing it back to food here, what kind of barbecue is Kansas barbecue, is it molasses based or is that like the vinegar based one?
Kansas barbecue sauce is ketchup based.
Okay.
I can make barbecue sauce, but I don't like to because it's work. I will say I've had barbecue from other places that are famous for barbecue, Texas, Memphis. I haven't had barbecue from the Carolinas, but Memphis, didn't love it. Not a fan.
Didn't love
Wasn't
it.
very good.
Wow. They didn't wow you.
All right, barbecue, but it's different.
Okay. Good to know. I love the barbecue discourse. I think we have some good stuff here in West Virginia if you ever come on over to visit. Let's see.
My whole both of my parents are from Roanoke, Virginia, so I go out there a lot. I've had Virginia and West Virginia barbecue. I don't know, man.
You need to find the right spot. My family, like I said, we're from the Chicago area, but when we're down here in like Tennessee, I went to school in Kentucky, West Virginia area. We just kind of drive through like the hollers and the mountains until we find somewhere that has barbecue. And that's how you find the good barbecue.
There you go. Wait, I want to know what Max thinks is special about Indiana. I'm just going to call you out here. Okay, so we're on the same page? Is that what I'm hearing? Corn, everything is flat. Very true. We do have the world's largest children's museum, though. I've never seen a hill before I came to and here we are. It's Yep. Nice. Does anyone else want to share where you're from and what's special about where you're from?
I'm from the next state over from Reginald, so I'm from Colorado. So that's
okay.
Cool.
Very cool.
I'm from where Coors beer is brewed, and like Blue Moon and such. That's pretty cool. And then in our breakout groups, I found out someone else is from Jefferson County, but it's Jefferson County, West Virginia. So
Jefferson just like made his way around, didn't he? Nice, super cool. Anyone else?
Oh, also about Kansas and the Kansas City area.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah. The other side of the state line, I live in Johnson County, Kansas. Kansas City, Missouri is Jackson County, Missouri. And in the Mormon faith, that is where they believed that the Garden of Eden was. So,
so you're pretty close.
It's in Jackson County, Missouri.
And Midwesterners everywhere rejoice. That's amazing. Nice. When I drove through Kansas, I hadn't ever seen so much roadkill. That's saying something coming from West Virginia. And I drive through Ohio too, so nice. All right. Well, what's the point, really, is that you are coming from a culture, right? Obviously, you're going somewhere to experience a new culture, but you are coming from a place where you see the world a certain way. And that's going to affect your experience. And that's going to be something that you're going to push your boundaries. So talking about key components of your culture, we obviously touched on food. We've touched on geography, right? That has had a major impact on our experience as humans, and how we like move between those places. The products that come out of there, like beer, that's great. What are some of the ways that you would expect your host country to, differ? So we talk about culture as having like a surface and a deep culture. It's a really like tacky metaphor, but here we go. The cultural iceberg has a surface, right? So there's your food, there's the flags, there's the symbols. We have a mascot at WVU. There are the literature and the art and like the language that you speak. Those are the things that you are going to encounter on the surface at the outset. Right? But there is there's deeper values and beliefs and behaviors that inform that surface area, right? So, you know, what their beliefs about communication are, right? Does it have to be direct, or is it really subtle like what Americans do? And we know that this varies throughout the United States as well. But what tone of voice means, right? What gestures mean, notions of friendship and relationships, right? How does your relationship with somebody older than you look like here versus there? Attitudes towards death, time, right? What's respectful, what's clean, right? Approaches to marriage, right? All that kind of stuff. So, and I love the concept of time being so fluid. Like most of my experiences in Latin America, and time just doesn't matter. People are really chill. They take their time getting to where they're going. They take their time being where they are. So they're just all kinds of deep culture components that influence the thing that you're experiencing on the subway, right? So take that into account. You will probably go through some sort of culture shock. This is a different experience for everybody, right? Everybody has their own experience with this. Just like a show of hands or like little thumbs up, dudes, like, has anybody ever experienced culture shock? I know Max saw a hill once. Yeah, a couple of you had. Yeah, I know, it's like bizarre, right? Yeah, how did that feel? If anybody is willing to share. Ben.
I can talk about how coming from Colorado to West Virginia is definitely a cultural shock. And
please do.
Yeah, it was insane to think, because I've only been up in the northern part, but I know most people, my friends, are from Jefferson County or deep down in the holler, and it's very weird to think that some places can't even afford to do homework. And I was like, what? I feel like that's a basic thing, but that's just me. And then I know with my sister, she studied abroad as well, but she was very flabbergasted when she was in Italy that they don't have Netflix, but that was back in 2017. Which
times have changed.
Anyone
else? Sorry, Reginald, I saw that you had.
Yeah. After my senior year of high school, I spent a year as an exchange student in Austria. And this shouldn't be very surprising. There aren't a lot of Black people in Austria. There are, in fact, very few Black people in Austria, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But there was not even a chance for me to blend in while I was there. And it just made it sort of difficult to feel like I actually did belong in my class with my friends there. Like, yeah, they accepted me and everything, but there wasn't, like, no matter how much they told me, you're fine, there's still something in the back of your head like, yeah, but I'm never going to be like you are.
Absolutely. No, I'm really glad you brought that up. When I studied abroad in Chile, it's very homogeneously white there. And I had a friend who was Chinese American and another friend who was Black, and both of them like had this experience of just being singled out constantly. And that's part of your experience. And I will pitch this. We do have like an Identities Abroad website where we kind of dive into and provide resources and just reflective questions on, what does it mean to be a person of color abroad? What does it mean to have my religion where I'm going? What does it mean to have my gender identity and sexuality where I'm going? And all of that stuff. So we do have a resource available, and I'll be sure to include it in our follow-up email. But these are important questions that you might not be thinking about. And it might not, just because, you're used to where you are right now. So some of the shock is just not being in like your version of homogenous, right? And your comfort zone. Thank you for sharing that. So I generally identify like 4-ish stages of culture shock. It's not linear. It's all just kind of a big muddled mess, and everybody experiences it their own ways. First is honeymoon. Everything is amazing. You love the food, you love the people. The class is super cool. You can go to the beach every day if you're in Australia. It's great. Then you kind of come across some frustrations, right? where like Sarah was describing, you know, not being able to bring her backpack into the library. And it's just little things like that where you're like, oh, man, I keep forgetting, like this just keeps happening. Or like, I can't read the signs in the grocery store. Like I can't find the shampoo. Acceptance is kind of being like, all right, like this makes sense. I know that they have their own thing. Like I get what's happening, but adaptation is actually taking those traits on yourself. I only started talking with my hands when I started learning Spanish. And like when I started like hanging out in Latin America, like I became a really gestural person. And I talk a lot faster than I used to because I studied in Chile and they're just ridiculous down there. So like adaptation is actually taking those traits on yourself, and not just like surface culture, but also your perception of time, your perception of what relationships should look like, your perception of what your academic experience should look like, right? So those are, you're going to come across all those surface and deep level cultural, you know, barriers, and you're going to grind against that a little bit. But that's all part of the experience. And I will say, at least with me, usually like my very first night or two, it's like, I'm exhausted, I feel bad, I'm scared, like I don't feel great about the place that I'm going. And I have like this moment of, this was a bad idea. But take a shower and like settle in, you know, get a good night's sleep, rest up, get over the jet lag. And usually you'll get back into that honeymoon phase pretty quickly. And then there's also reverse culture shock. Show of thumbs or whatever. Has anybody ever experienced reverse culture shock? Okay. Oh, you will. Grace has? Is that Grace Taylor? Nice. Yeah. What was that like?
So I've studied abroad and stuff before, and then came back to the country, and like we try to like tell people about what was going on and like just like don't understand. Like or maybe the importance of the story, or like what was actually something point, because like they don't understand it. And so like trying to bring that back home is always hard for me, and trying to like live my life through that culture too. It's like always hard for me because I don't have that type of support system or that type of culture here or that where I live. And so like the point of going abroad is obviously so that we can learn and then like we change that experience. And then when we come home, we don't have that like support to grow ourselves in that experience. So it's hard to translate it back into like your family or into your friend group or something that you're trying to expect yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, you touched on like all of it. Reverse culture shock is coming back and just not knowing how you fit anymore, right? Because you've had this amazing experience and you've grown and changed and you have adapted and gotten frustrated. And the people that you're coming back to did not share that experience with you. And that's okay. We are going to talk through like some coping mechanisms here in a minute. But as far as like culture shock, again, kind of like with safety and security and all that stuff, like know yourself, know how you feel like on a standard day and when you're not feeling right. You know, there's all kinds of external triggers, right? Like the food, the weather, you know, language, values, the way, you know, people behave. I mean, if people are asking you direct questions constantly, like that's a trigger, right? But that also, you know, gets started on some like physiological symptoms a lot of times, right? Where you might not be sleeping or eating well, right? That happened to me while I was spending a semester in South America. You might have like, you know, signs of withdrawal or anxiety or irritability. You might have extreme homesickness, like sleeping differently. You might have actual like headaches or stomach aches. So those are, you know, that's your body processing, being in a state of shock, right? And it's okay to acknowledge that, right? You don't have to just like push through it all the time. You can acknowledge that and, you know, take care of yourself how you need. I really recommend like journaling or blogging. I'm not like a person to publish all of my experiences on social media, but I did keep a blog when I spent a semester abroad, mostly because like that was where I saved all my pictures, but also I didn't have to tell the same stories all the time. And I could tell my family like, yeah, if you want to know what that was like, I already wrote about it, like go read it. And I didn't have to like reiterate all of my same stories. But also that's a good way to just reflect on what's been going on and what's happening, because it's amazing the things that you forget. And you're like, oh, well, I used to do that. And even I've been in places where they drive on the other side of the road. So that means that they walk on the other side of the sidewalk. And it's like, oh, I forgot that I used to walk on the right side of the sidewalk. And it's just little things like that. Find a community, right? You are not the only person. And like Sarah said, it's amazing how international students just kind of come together. You have a shared experience. You guys are going to be going through, you know, really cool things together, and you also kind of understand what's happening. We are going to send you that Google Doc so that you can willingly, you know, put your contact information there if you want to share your experiences with each other. And also, like, there are a few of you who are going to the same space, they're the same place. So like, that's a good way to connect. And keep in touch with your family and your friends at home, right? It's okay to like keep up with home base and know what's going on there. Find your comfort zone in your new environment, right? You might have to figure out what is comfortable where you are. But like when I was in Chile, I brought like books in English, or I would like listen to music in English. And it's like, I just need a break from the Spanish right now. Like find that little zone of like, okay, I can retreat back into this, or your show on Netflix, and then get out, right? Get out and find something new. All right, we're in the home stretch here. I promise you guys. This is hopefully growing you into an intercultural person, right? You're leaving the country, you're experiencing new cultures, you're gaining new perspectives, you're becoming intercultural, but what does that actually mean? Intercultural people are empathetic, right? They're adaptable, you're critical thinkers, you're curious. All of you up to this point have had to engage with like every single one of these points, right? Where you've had to learn what it's like to engage with the people who are hosting you and go through their application process and their bureaucracy. You've had to be patient, you've had to use critical thinking. So just some tips as you go through: recognize cultural differences for what they are. They're differences, right? The fact that Latin Americans are late to everything does not mean that they are worse, right? At time, it means that they have a different value system as concerns time. It's a difference. It's not a superiority or inferiority. Compare differences with your home culture. That's a super fun thing to do. Like, why is this happening? Why am I feeling this way? Or why do people have this opinion? Learn to respect, or learn how to navigate new spaces and values by asking questions respectfully. You will be asked questions, and you are allowed to ask questions. You're going to make mistakes and make missteps, and that's part of the experience. And so I spent a summer, like 6 weeks in India after my junior year of college. And there was this older man who I, was having a conversation with, and he found out I was from the US, and he said, "Oh, you're from America. I just heard the most like disgraceful thing about Americans." And I was like, "Ooh, what did we do this time? Great." And his response was, "I just read that American children will abandon their parents and move out of the house when they're 18 years old." And I was like, okay, that's not where I saw this going. And it had to be kind of a conversation of like, okay, so what does independence mean to us? And what does it mean to folks in Calcutta, right? There's just a different concept of what that means and what family value means and what taking care of each other means, right? The way we take care of each other here is by giving each other space. And that is not the case in a lot of other countries. But ultimately, be respectful, right? Allow space for misinterpretation, allow space for mistakes, but above all else, be respectful. All right. That was a long haul, right? Once you're back, I know you're not thinking this far ahead yet, but once you're back, check out your emails for updates from us. We'll have stuff to keep you guys engaged. We want to like keep you in the family and hear from your experiences and have you share your experiences with other students. And don't forget about the transient credit process. That was 5,000 years ago when we talked about that, but don't forget about how to transfer your credits. Just as a quick pitch, we do offer a Global Mountaineer Certificate Program. So if you're working on your degree through WVU, then you have the option of adding a certificate in global competency. It's super lightweight. There's not much extra academic work that goes into it. There are 2 1-credit global competency courses. I teach Glow 101 in person. So that might have just ruined the pitch entirely. You might be sick of me, but there's a couple other things to do. And you guys are already studying abroad, and that's one of the components for the certificate. Okay, very, very last. This is our social media handles, everything. Like I said, Sarah did a takeover, and you can see it on our Instagram. We tweet updates and do the Facebook, and we do all that stuff. But also, if you're interested in doing a takeover, or if you want to share pictures, or if you want to send us anything to post, you can do that. Email us at abroad, at mail.wvu.edu. And also Kylie Rice is like our communications person. So she handles all of our social media stuff. You can write to her directly if you want to do anything. Okay. All right. That was a sprint. I'm so proud of you guys. This was a lot. This is it for us. So if anyone has any questions, you can stay back and ask them. We're here to address that. But otherwise, look for a follow-up email from us with a whole bunch of these links and all this information. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming. And I'm going to stop the recording now. So feel free to ask your questions.